Welcome to the BookMind channel, where we do deep dive conversations on famous English books.
Yeah.
What if the secret to, getting really wealthy, achieving your wildest dreams,
Yeah.
what if it wasn't just luck or even just pure hard work?
Okay.
But what if it was this discoverable, repeatable formula, a kind of blueprint,
Right.
one that's been proven by hundreds of the most successful people in history and that, you could actually apply to? It sounds almost too good to be true, right?
It definitely sounds like a bold claim, doesn't it? But yeah, that's exactly the premise we're digging into today.
Okay.
Our deep dive is taking us right into Napoleon Hill's, his huge work, Think and Grow Rich. And you got to understand, this isn't just some book. It's really a philosophy, meticulously put together, painstakingly synthesized from, get this, over 2 decades of research. Yeah, into the lives of more than 500 men of immense wealth. And the really amazing thing they had in common.
What was that?
They all pretty much started with, as Hill puts it, nothing to give in return for riches except thoughts, ideas, and organized plans.
Huh. So it's all about the mindset, the thinking part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hill's genius was figuring out that invisible architecture, the structure behind why they succeeded.
And, our source material for this deep dive, it actually comes from this really fascinating YouTube transcript.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it kind of distills the essence of Hill's timeless principles. It feels like a really effective shortcut, to grasp what it really means to think and grow rich. It draws straight from that original wisdom.
That's great. A good starting point then.
Totally. So our mission today is, let's unpack these powerful ideas. Let's pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge and help you, the listener, understand not just what these principles are, but maybe more importantly, why they matter and how they can actually be applied to your life, like right now.
Right.
To bring about real personal achievement and, material riches too.
Exactly. Let's start digging. Okay, so where does this whole incredible journey begin? The story, it actually takes us back to Andrew Carnegie.
The steel tycoon.
Right, a man who, by the time he died, had amassed what today would be billions of dollars. And apparently, over a quarter century before Hill's book even came out, when Napoleon Hill was still, as he says, but a boy, Carnegie planted this secret formula right into his young mind. I mean, what a starting point for your life's work.
It really is an origin story that sets a powerful tone, doesn't it? Carnegie, this master of psychology, titan of industry, he didn't just, casually offer some advice.
Right.
Hill describes how Carnegie sat back in his chair with a merry twinkle in his eyes and watched carefully to see if Hill had brains enough to understand the full significance of what he'd just shared.
So it was a test.
Absolutely. A deliberate challenge. He basically tasked Hill with this epic undertaking. Spend 20 years, maybe more, just preparing.
Wow, 20 years. Preparing to take it to the world. And the nature of this secret itself is pretty intriguing. Hill says it cannot be had without a price.
Okay.
But, and this is crucial, that price cannot be purchased for money.
Ah, so not a financial price.
Exactly. It's accessible in a different way. He says it comes in 2 parts, and one of those parts, Hill notes, is already in possession of those who are ready for it.
Ready for it.
Yeah. And what really stands out is how democratic it is. It serves equally well all who are ready for it. It doesn't matter about your formal education. I mean, think about Thomas A. Edison. A perfect example, right? Famously only went to school for, 3 months?
Right. Barely any formal schooling.
Yet he applied this very principle, apparently, to become one of history's greatest inventors.
It's a remarkable testament to the power of an idea, isn't it? An idea so potent it could spark a 2-decade quest.
Totally.
But here's where it gets even more compelling, funny. Even before those 20 years of research were done, this secret was already being shared. It was already impacting the lives of more than 100,000 men and women.
Precisely. And those early applications gave concrete proof that it worked across all sorts of different fields, too.
Like what?
Well, one example Hill gives is a clergyman who used it to achieve an income upwards of $75,000 a year.
Which back then was just astronomical money.
Unfathomable, yeah. And then there's the story of Arthur Nash, a tailor in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
His business was near bankrupt.
Okay.
But he basically used it as a guinea pig to test this formula, and the result, the business didn't just survive.
It thrived.
It came to life and made a fortune for its owners. And on top of that, it got more than $1 million worth of laudatory publicity. It became this, tangible proof.
Wow, a real turnaround story.
Yeah, a powerful demonstration that the formula could work even in really dire situations.
It really shows the adaptability, the potential of these principles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, imagine an idea so powerful, so, universally applicable, that it could transform lives, fortunes, even before it was fully written down and codified.
Yeah.
This isn't some, passing fad we're talking about.
No, not at all. It feels like tapping into something really foundational about human achievement, about enterprise. So what Hill did really meticulously was distill all these countless experiences, these observations, into 13 core principles.
13 specific principles.
Yep. And he doesn't just say, oh, these might be helpful. He straight up asserts they are essential to every person who accumulates sufficient money to guarantee financial independence.
Essential,
Okay.
not just helpful.
Right. So this isn't just, a financial strategy guide. It's more like a comprehensive philosophy designed to fundamentally change your whole approach to life, purpose, work, everything.
And what I find really compelling about this philosophy, the way Hill describes it, is how actionable it feels.
Yeah.
It clearly lays out what to do, also how to do it. It doesn't just leave you hanging, guessing in the dark.
Right. Practical steps.
Exactly. It gives complete instructions on how to sell your personal services, which is, incredibly relevant whether you're climbing the corporate ladder or, doing your own thing as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
But maybe the most critical thing it offers is what he calls a perfect system of self-analysis.
Ah, yes. Self-analysis.
Yeah, one that can supposedly readily disclose what has been standing between you and the big money in the past.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about empowering you to look inward, figure out your own hidden roadblocks, and then unlock that outward success.
That introspection piece is huge in Hill's work. Okay, so let's dive into some of these key principles. A huge insight from Hill is that the journey to riches, it doesn't just start with hard work, like most of us assume.
Right. That's the usual advice.
Yeah, but Hill says it starts fundamentally with a state of mind, with definiteness of purpose, and crucially, with a burning desire to possess it.
A burning desire, not just a wish.
Exactly. It's got to be this intense, all-consuming internal fire. That's the primary fuel for everything else that comes after.
And there's that famous story, right? Edwin C. Barnes and his unwavering quest to become Edison's business associate.
Oh, yeah. The Barnes story is classic Hill. Perfect example. His desire was incredibly definite. He wanted to work with Edison.
Right. With him, not for him.
Precisely. That subtle difference in his intention, aiming to be a partner, not just an employee, that's really key to understanding why he eventually succeeded.
It sets the whole tone.
It does, and his journey was, well, anything but conventional. He didn't have money for the train.
So what did he do?
He traveled by what they called blind baggage.
Blind baggage,
Yeah, basically hopping a freight train, just stowing away.
Wow, just pure determination then.
Pure determination. When he showed up at Edison's lab, looking, as Edison himself later said, like an ordinary tramp, it was that sheer, undeniable will that cut through. Edison, genius himself, apparently recognized Barnes's determination to get what he had come after.
He saw something in him.
Yeah, and Edison's observation here really speaks volumes about this whole principle. When a man really desires a thing so deeply that he is willing to stake his entire future on a single turn of the wheel in order to get it, he is sure to win.
That's powerful, especially coming from Edison.
It really underscores the transformative power of a true burning desire.
So Barnes gets there looking like a tramp, but Edison gives him a chance, right?
Yeah.
But just menial work at first.
Exactly. Started with menial work, and he waited patiently for months. Apparently nothing happened on the surface.
Right. He's just sweeping floors or whatever.
Probably. But here's the crucial thing, the internal dynamic. Something important was happening in Barnes's mind. He was constantly intensifying his desire.
So even in the waiting, he was working on it mentally.
Constantly. It wasn't about getting that immediate external reward. It was this internal cultivation of his purpose.
Yeah.
Building that burning desire day by day until it was just undeniable.
And then the opportunity finally came.
And it came, ironically enough, disguised in the form of misfortune. Well, Edison had invented this dictating machine, the Ediphone, but his salesmen weren't having any luck with it. They thought it was too hard to sell.
Okay, so it looked like a failure.
To them, yeah. But Barnes, with that deep desire he'd been cultivating, he saw his opportunity.
Right there. While everyone else saw a problem.
Exactly. He stepped up, took on the challenge, and he sold it so successfully that Edison gave him a contract to distribute and market it all over the nation.
Wow. Just like that.
Well, not just like that, but his readiness met the opportunity, and that led to a 30-year partnership that made Barnes incredibly wealthy.
It's such a powerful lesson, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Recognizing opportunities even when they look like problems.
And being ready to act with that unwavering commitment.
That's a really powerful distinction. It makes you think, how often do you, the listener, maybe miss opportunities
Sure.
because they don't look like what you expect? Or maybe because you're unwilling to start small and really cultivate that desire over time.
It really does make you reflect on perceived setbacks versus true opportunities, which brings us to another key part of desire, persistence.
Ah, persistence.
Yeah. The story of Mr. Darby is famous for this, right? The guy who stopped digging only 3 feet from gold.
Oh, that story is heartbreaking after months of work.
Exactly. Sold his equipment, and the new owner strikes gold almost immediately. Ouch. But the real lesson for Darby came later. What Hill calls the 50-cent lesson.
Right. The 50-cent lesson. Tell us about that again.
Darby saw this little kid relentlessly demanding 50 cents from her uncle. The uncle kept saying no, trying to brush her off.
Yeah.
But the child just wouldn't give up. She just kept on keeping on, this unwavering little force, until the uncle finally sighed and gave her the money.
And that was Darby's light bulb moment.
Totally. That was the aha moment.
Yeah.
He suddenly realized the incredible, almost irresistible power of just keeping on, keeping on. That experience, plus, the bitter memory of the gold mine, it completely changed his approach. He later became this super successful life insurance salesman.
Right.
And he often said something like, the better portion of all sales I have made were made after people had said no.
So success was hiding just beyond that initial rejection.
Exactly. Demanding just one more effort, one more push.
So what temporary defeats are you facing right now that might be just one step, maybe 3 feet away from your biggest success? It really challenges how we see failure, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
And this idea of unyielding determination, it reminds me of that phrase, burning the ships.
Indeed. That ancient warrior tactic. Burning your boats after landing on enemy shores.
Yeah?
It literally leaves you with no choice. We win or we perish. It forces this state of mind known as a burning desire to win, which Hill considers absolutely essential to success.
No retreat, no surrender.
All your energy, mental and physical, just has to be focused on that one objective.
And we see this play out not just in ancient battles, right?
Mm.
But in modern history too. Business even.
Definitely. Think about Marshall Field after the Great Chicago Fire. Devastating fire.
Right. Wiped out so much of the city.
Yeah, other merchants were packing up, leaving the ruined city. But Field, standing there amidst the smoke and rubble of his store,
What did he do?
he made this incredibly audacious declaration. He said, on that very spot, I will build the world's greatest store no matter how many times it may burn down.
Wow. That's commitment.
Isn't it? And that store, it stands today. A towering monument, as Hill puts it, to the power of that state of mind known as a burning desire. Just unshakable resolve. It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? What in your life are you willing to commit to so fully that retreat just isn't even an option?
Yeah. That's a deep question. That's the kind of challenge Hill puts out there.
It is. Okay.
So if desire is the fuel, how do we actually do this? How do we channel this, burning desire into actual tangible results like money?
Right. Hill doesn't just leave it as an abstract concept. He gives 6 very practical, almost ritualistic steps.
Okay, what are they?
All right. Step 1. Fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. Be precise. No vague wishes.
Exact amount. Got it.
Step 2. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return for that money. Because, as Hill constantly stresses, there's no such thing as something for nothing.
Okay, fair trade. What's next?
Step 3. Establish a definite date when you intend to possess it. A deadline.
Right, makes it real.
Step 4. Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire. And this is important. Begin at once to put that plan into action, whether you feel totally ready or not.
Begin at once. No procrastination.
Exactly. Step 5. Write out a clear, concise statement. It should include the amount, the time limit, what you'll give in return, and your plan. Get it down on paper.
Write it down. Okay. And the last step.
Step 6. This is arguably the most crucial. Read your written statement aloud twice daily. Once just before you go to sleep and once right after you wake up.
Read it aloud.
Yes. And as you read, you absolutely must see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money.
See, feel, and believe. Okay.
It's critical that you don't just, mechanically read the words in that 6th step. You have to internalize it. That instruction to see and feel and believe yourself already in possession, That's the core of it.
Why is that part so important?
Because it's not just visualization. It's about deeply emotionalizing your desire. That's how you communicate directly and effectively with your subconscious mind. You have to convince yourself at the deepest level before the external reality can actually manifest. Okay, moving on from desire, Hill talks about faith. He describes faith as a state of mind which may be induced by autosuggestion.
Induced by autosuggestion,
Yeah, I
but you
know.
can cultivate it.
Exactly. It's not just passive belief, it's the ability to mix faith with any order given to the subconscious mind. It implies this cultivated conviction, this proactive belief you can embed deep within yourself, which then actively works to bring your desires to life.
Okay, but here's the kind of scary part, right?
Yeah.
The subconscious isn't picky.
That's the powerful and, yes, slightly unsettling caveat. It acts on any strong thought, positive or negative, with equal faithfulness.
And that story of Joseph Grant.
Yeah, the bank official. A chilling example. Lost a huge sum of borrowed money gambling, retreated to a hotel.
And just kept repeating.
My God, this will kill me. I cannot stand the disgrace. Over and over for 3 days. And then
He died.
he died. Doctors at the time called it mental suicide.
Wow.
It's shocking, but it shows how negative autosuggestion, driven relentlessly by fear and shame, can literally translate into physical reality.
That's terrifying.
It underscores the immense responsibility we have for our thoughts. Just as negative thoughts can destroy, positive ones, fueled by faith and purpose, can manifest riches, well-being. The subconscious just acts on whatever dominant, emotionalized thoughts you feed it.
It really makes you pause, doesn't it? What negative thoughts are you allowing to become your reality, maybe without even realizing their power?
Yeah,
it's essential for self-mastery, thinking about that. But on the flip side, what about the power of positive faith on a huge scale?
that brings us to Mahatma Gandhi. An absolutely astounding example of what's possible with cultivated faith.
Right. He had no army, no money.
Exactly. None of the orthodox tools of power, such as money, battleships, soldiers, and materials of warfare. Yet he wielded more potential power than any man living in his time by influencing 200 million people to cooperate, purely through the principle of faith.
He really did accomplish a miracle in terms of collective action, didn't he? Getting 200 million minds to coalesce and move in unison as a single mind.
It's a staggering feat. It proves that faith, when directed properly, can be a force far greater than any physical army or economic might.
So what did Hill think this meant for the future?
Well, with his usual foresight, Hill suggested that future business leaders would increasingly use Gandhi's tactics. They'd start replacing economic combinations of force and fear with principles like faith and cooperation.
Aiming for more than just profit.
Yeah, aiming for broader goals like human happiness and contentment. It points towards a more, enlightened, human-centric kind of capitalism, driven by shared belief and purpose.
So if faith can literally move nations, just imagine what it can do for your personal goals, for your own path.
The potential is immense once you grasp that fundamental link between thought, belief, and manifestation.
Yeah.
Okay, next principle, specialized knowledge. And here, Hill makes a really key distinction. It's not just about having knowledge.
Right. It's about applied knowledge.
Exactly. He says knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power only when and if it is organized into definite plans of action and directed to a definite end.
So just knowing stuff isn't enough.
Nope. It's what you do with it, how you organize it, what purpose you direct it towards. That's what really counts.
And this brings us back to Henry Ford again, doesn't it?
It does. A man with but little schooling, yet Hull considered him profoundly educated.
Which is a fascinating distinction. Education isn't just schooling.
Right. The Latin root of educate means to educe, to draw out, to develop from within. It implies true education is less about what you've been taught and more about how well you can harness your own intelligence and the resources around you.
Like Ford in that courtroom story.
Precisely. Challenged on his general knowledge, he basically said, look, I have a row of electric push buttons on my desk. I push a button, and I can summon someone who can answer any question I desire to ask.
Huh. That's brilliant.
Isn't it? His key insight, still so relevant today, was Any man is educated who knows where to get knowledge when he needs it and how to organize that knowledge into plans of action.
Through the assistance of his mastermind crew.
Exactly. It's not about being a walking encyclopedia. It's about resourcefulness and leveraging collective intelligence.
That's such a liberating thought, really. Are you trying to be that walking encyclopedia, or are you mastering the art of finding and applying knowledge like Ford did?
Yeah.
It's a big shift in how we think about expertise today.
It is, and Hill actually lists several ways to get this specialized knowledge. Your own experience, obviously, your mastermind group tapping into their knowledge, formal places like colleges, universities, public libraries, books, periodicals, and specialized training like night schools or home study courses.
So lots of avenues.
Yeah. The key is knowing which sources to use for what specific knowledge you need, and then, crucially, applying it purposefully.
Now, Hill makes an interesting, maybe slightly controversial point about the price of knowledge, doesn't he? Especially regarding public schools.
He does.
Oh.
He points to what he calls the astounding weakness of America's public school system at the time, the fact that it is free.
And why is that a weakness, in his view?
Paradoxically, he felt it could lead people to undervalue the knowledge because there's no immediate financial sacrifice involved, no skin in the game, so to speak.
Interesting take. Does he give an example?
He shares a personal story. He enrolled in a home study advertising course, stopped doing the work, but was then forced to pay the full tuition anyway.
Ah, so he was stuck paying for it.
Right. And that financial obligation, he admits, actually forced him to complete it. Later, he realized that the company's efficient collection system had been worth much in the form of money earned because of the advertising training he'd so reluctantly finished.
So the price, the forced commitment, turned potential knowledge into actual valuable skill.
That was his takeaway. It's a lesson in how commitment, even if it starts reluctantly, can yield unexpected benefits.
And speaking of applying knowledge, Hill talks about marketing personal services, almost like it was a new profession back then.
Yeah, he does. He tells the story about an unemployed salesman, good bookkeeper, but struggled to market himself.
Okay.
Then this clever young woman creates a very attractive book, basically a custom scrapbook detailing his new wholesale bookkeeping system. It was a novel way to package and sell his skills.
Like a personal marketing portfolio.
Exactly. An idea born of necessity, he says. But it blossomed into this concept of a merchandising specialist capable of preparing an attractive brief for use in marketing personal services.
And what was the impact of this approach?
Hill claimed it clipped off no less than 10 years of time for job seekers. It saved them from having to start at the bottom, where, let's face it, the outlook is not so very bright or encouraging.
Right. It let them showcase their value up front.
Exactly. Present their value from a position of strength, proactively.
So if we want to market our services effectively today, what's the secret sauce according to Hill? He has that formula, right? QQS.
Yes, the QQS formula. It stands for quality plus quantity plus the proper spirit of cooperation, perfect salesmanship of service.
Okay, break that down for us. Quality.
Quality of service means, as Hill puts it, performance of every detail in the most efficient manner possible, striving for excellence in everything you do.
Right, quantity.
Quantity means the habit of rendering all the service of which you are capable at all times, consistently giving your absolute best, going the extra mile.
Okay, in spirit.
And the spirit of service. This is the habit of agreeable, harmonious conduct, which will induce cooperation from colleagues, clients, everyone. Harmony is key.
Harmony. That sounds like Carnegie again.
Absolutely. Andrew Carnegie famously insisted on harmonious conduct. He often valued it even more than the quantity or quality of work because he knew it was essential for building powerful teams and alliances. Sustained success needs harmony.
So it's a potent mix. Skill, effort, and a positive cooperative attitude.
That's the formula.
And stepping back a bit, Hill also talks about the capital value of your services.
Right.
What does he mean by that?
He argues that the actual capital value of your brains may be determined by the amount of income you can produce by marketing your services.
So your earning potential reflects your capital value.
Pretty much. He even gives a rough way to estimate it. Multiply your annual income by 16 23/3. That supposedly represents a 6% return on your brain capital.
Huh. Interesting calculation.
But what I find really striking is his point that your brain is a much more desirable form of capital. Why? Because it cannot be permanently depreciated through depressions, nor can this form of capital be stolen or spent.
It's inherently secure and portable.
Exactly. It's your most valuable, most resilient asset.
So the question for you, the listener, is how are you showcasing your unique blend of quality, quantity, and spirit? And are you consciously treating your own brains, your knowledge and skills, as the priceless capital they truly are? Investing in them, protecting them.
Really important questions for anyone serious about their career and financial future. All right, next up, imagination. A huge one for Hill. He calls the faculty of imagination the medium of achievement.
Medium of achievement.
Yeah, he literally calls it the workshop where all plans for desire's transition are created and organized. It's that inner space, that mental lab where man makes his plans for individual achievement, where ideas take shapes before they become real.
And he breaks it down into two types, right?
Yes. First, there's synthetic imagination. This is basically rearranging old concepts, ideas, plans into new combinations, like creatively remixing what's already out there.
Okay, building on existing stuff.
Right. But then there's creative imagination. This, Hill suggests, is like a direct link to infinite intelligence. It's the source of those sudden hunches, those inspirations that seem to pop into your head fully formed, almost out of nowhere.
The real breakthrough ideas.
Potentially, yes. Let's illustrate this with that captivating story Hill tells about the enchanted kettle, which many believe is the origin story of
Coca-Cola.
That's the legend. It starts with an old country doctor selling a secret formula and an old kettle for just $500 to a young drug clerk.
Seems like a small price for what it became.
Well, yeah. But the truly crucial element wasn't just the formula or the kettle. It was that the clerk mixed with the secret instructions an ingredient of which the doctor knew nothing.
His imagination.
Exactly. He took something tangible, a recipe, and infused it with this intangible transformative power. He envisioned a future far beyond what was physically there.
And that idea, that vision.
It caused the kettle, metaphorically, to overflow with gold. It became this global phenomenon, consuming massive amounts of sugar, bottles, employing armies of people worldwide.
Even funding a college, apparently.
Yeah, funding a prominent college in the South. It's just this incredible testament to how a seemingly small idea, when fueled by imagination and pursued passionately, can create immense, lasting value.
It makes you wonder, what seemingly small idea could you infuse with your imagination to create something extraordinary? The spark often comes from that internal vision, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Which leads us to another amazing story. Dr. Frank Gonzalez.
Ah, the ambitious preacher.
Yeah, he had this powerful desire to start a college teaching learning by doing, great vision, but there was a big practical hurdle.
The money. He needed $1 million.
$1 million, a huge sum back then. And for nearly 2 years, he just immersed himself in thinking about how to get it. No obvious progress.
Just in thinking.
Then one Saturday, he made a definite decision. He would get that $1 million within 1 week.
Even though he had no idea how.
No clue. It was a total burn the ships moment in his mind. A commitment without a visible path.
So what happened?
It's remarkable. That same day, he announced he'd preach a sermon the next morning titled, "What I Would Do If I Had $1 Million."
He basically been preparing it for 2 years in his head.
Exactly. So the words just flowed, filled with that deep desire. The next morning, after the sermon, a man named Philip D. Armour walks up to him.
The wealthy industrialist.
The one and only. And he offers Gonzalez the $1 million.
Just like that. Incredible.
The lesson Hill draws is powerful. The necessary $1 million came as a result of an idea. Back of the idea was a desire which young Gonzalez had been nursing in his mind for almost 2 years. But the real catalyst,
The definite decision.
the definite decision to get it within a specific time frame, that's what seemed to unlock the opportunity.
Wow. That really drives home the power of making a specific, definite, time-bound commitment. It seems to activate something.
It really does.
And looking at historical opportunities, Hill was pretty sharp about identifying industries ripe for imagination, wasn't he? Like radio back then.
Oh, yeah. He saw the early radio business as this wide open field of opportunity screaming its protest at the way it is being butchered because of lack of imagination. Strong words.
Huh. Butchered.
Right.
What did he think was missing?
He saw this desperate need for new ideas, for new and more meritorious radio programs that could actually convert listeners into buyers. The industry needed to prove its value, move beyond, as he put it, silly gigglers,
Okay.
and show indisputable proof of its sales impact. It was basically an industry crying out for creative disruption, for someone with imagination to step in and define its potential.
Like Carnegie was steel.
Exactly the analogy Hill used. Carnegie knew very little about making steel himself,
Yeah.
but he knew how to use the principles, desire, mastermind, imagination, and surrounded himself with people who could create and execute the ideas. He orchestrated the genius.
That's a fantastic point. What new industries or challenges today, maybe AI, climate change, whatever, are desperately in need of your creative imagination, just like radio was back then?
It's a compelling call to view the world's problems as fertile ground for imaginative solutions. Okay, let's shift gears to decision, or rather, the lack of it. Hill's research was pretty stark on this, analyzing over 25,000 people who'd experienced failure.
Yeah. What did he find?
Lack of decision was near the head of the list of the 30 major causes of failure.
Near the head of the list. What?
Yeah, it wasn't just a minor issue, it was a huge career-killing roadblock. Conversely, successful people, they consistently reached decisions promptly.
Quickly.
And then crucially, they changed those decisions slowly, if and when they were changed. The opposite pattern of those who failed, they decided very slowly and of changing these decisions quickly and often.
Indecisive and easily swayed.
Exactly. That pattern, for Hill, was incredibly consistent and predictive of outcomes.
And Henry Ford comes up again here, doesn't he? As an example of decisiveness.
He does. Ford's reputation for being, well, obstinate.
Stubborn, yeah.
It actually came directly from his habit of reaching decisions quickly and definitely and changing them slowly. Think about his famous insistence on sticking with the Model T, even when everyone was telling him to change it.
Right. Unwavering commitment to his decision.
Exactly. So why do so many of us struggle with making quick, definite decisions? Hill points a finger at the danger of external opinions.
What other people think.
Yep. He notes that close friends and relatives, while not meaning to do so, often handicap one through opinions and sometimes through ridicule, even if they mean well.
Yeah, that can happen.
And he argues that many people carry inferiority complexes their entire lives because of these well-meaning but ultimately destructive outside influences.
So what's Hill's advice then? How do you counter that?
It's pretty direct.
Yeah.
When you're pursuing your goals, especially big ones, you need to keep your own counsel.
Keep it to yourself.
Largely, yes, especially in the early stages. He says, keep your eyes and ears wide open and your mouth closed if you wish to acquire the habit of prompt decision. And he's quite blunt. Those who talk too much do little else.
Ouch. But probably true sometimes.
It's about cultivating that inner certainty and shielding your new ideas from premature judgment and doubt from others. Now, for a truly monumental example of decision, think about the Declaration of Independence.
Wow, okay. Big example.
Huge. It really started gaining momentum after the Boston Massacre, which galvanized John Hancock and Samuel Adams to make a definite decision to get the British soldiers out of Boston.
A huge, risky decision.
Incredibly risky. And that led to that amazing moment with Samuel Adams being offered a bribe by the British.
Right. Colonel Fenton tried to buy him off.
Trying to get him to stop opposing the crown. And Adams's response, just legendary. He said, I trust I have long since made my peace with the King of Kings. No personal consideration shall induce me to abandon the righteous cause of my country.
Wow. Talk about unwavering conviction. That's principle-driven decision-making that changes history.
Isn't it? And Adams and Hancock, seemingly immune to fear because of their conviction, they influenced others, convened the First Continental Congress.
Which led to?
Richard Henry Lee's motion for independence, entrusted to Thomas Jefferson to draft. And finally, that historic signing on July 4th, 1776, 56 men staking his own life upon his decision.
Every single one of them.
And Hill's point is powerful. This monumental event was born of a decision created by a mastermind consisting of 56 men. And he adds, it was their decision which ensured the success of Washington's armies.
Collective, definite decision backed by incredible courage.
Manifesting a whole new reality.
So what crucial decision are you maybe putting off right now? A decision that could liberate your own future, set a new direction. It's a big question of courage, isn't it? Commitment to your own path.
Absolutely. All right, next principle, persistence. And for Hill, persistence is way more than just not giving up.
Okay. How does he see it?
He calls it an essential factor in the procedure of transmuting desire into its monetary equivalent. It's not just nice to have. It's fundamental, foundational.
Essential.
He even says it's to the character of man what carbon is to steel. It provides that strength, that resilience. And when you combine willpower and desire, he says, they make an irresistible pair.
Willpower and desire.
Yeah.
Irresistible.
Yeah.
And we see this quality in all those titans he talks about, right?
Yeah.
Ford, Carnegie, Rockefeller, Edison.
Exactly. They all had that ability to just carry on despite all opposition until they attained their goal. They didn't just try. They just kept going no matter what until they got there.
So how do we cultivate that? How do we overcome that feeling of wanting to give up when things get tough?
Yeah.
Because that happens to everyone.
Oh, absolutely. Hill calls lack of persistence one of the major causes of failure, but he offers a clear fix.
What is it?
He says it can be overcome by building a stronger fire under your desires.
Back to desire again.
It all connects. The intensity of your desire directly fuels your persistence. If your desire is just lukewarm, your effort will be too.
Makes sense. And Hill, being Hill, doesn't just state the principle. He challenges you, the listener, directly, doesn't he?
He does. He urges you to immediately go back and apply those 6 steps described in Chapter 2, the desire steps, as a way to gauge the true intensity of your desire right now.
Like a self-test.
Exactly. He says, the eagerness with which you follow these instructions will indicate clearly how much or how little you really desire to accumulate money. It's a powerful, immediate check-in on your own commitment level. Now, another really fascinating, maybe controversial example of persistence Hill uses is Mrs. Wallace Simpson.
The woman King Edward VIII abdicated the throne for.
That's the one. Hill argues her great love for a man was not accidental nor the result of favorable breaks alone. He suggests she knew what she wanted, with that burning desire, long before she even met the Prince of Wales. Like she had this pre-existing intent.
Interesting take. She certainly faced incredible odds.
Unbelievable odds, and she triumphed over them, and in doing so, shook the greatest empire on earth to get it. Regardless of what you think of the history, it's a powerful case study in persistence against truly massive opposition.
And the king's decision to abdicate.
That decision, Hill notes, required courage on an immense scale. It came with an enormous price, personally and nationally, but it was made from that deep, sincere desire. It shows the incredible lengths people will go to when driven by that unyielding purpose, that irresistible force of combined willpower and desire.
So what impossible dream are you willing to persist for? Even if it means defying expectations, shaking up the status quo in your own life.
That's the kind of deep introspection this principle invites, real commitment.
Okay, let's talk about power, and specifically, the power of the mastermind. Hill's very clear. Power is essential for success in the accumulation of money.
Essential, not just helpful. Right. But he defines it very specifically. It's organized and intelligently directed knowledge. And crucially, it's achieved through the coordination of effort of 2 or more people who work toward a definite end in a spirit of harmony.
2 or more people working in harmony.
Exactly. And he makes this bold statement. No individual may have great power without availing himself of the mastermind. So it's not optional if you want great power. It's fundamental.
Okay, let's really unpack this mastermind idea. It's so central. He talks about 2 phases, right?
Yes. First, the economic phase. This is where economic advantages may be created by any person who surrounds himself with the advice, counsel, and personal cooperation of a group of men who are willing to lend him wholehearted aid in a spirit of perfect harmony.
Like Carnegie's famous group of advisors.
Exactly. Carnegie attributed his entire fortune to his personal mastermind group, about 50 men whose combined intelligence and effort drove his empire. That's the economic benefit.
Okay. And the second phase?
That's the psychic phase. This one's a bit more abstract, more difficult to grasp, as Hill admits, because it deals with spiritual or energetic forces.
Right. This is where it gets a bit mystical.
A bit. But his statement is striking. No 2 minds ever come together without thereby creating a third invisible, intangible force, which may be likened to a third mind.
Third mind.
Yeah. He postulates that when brains coordinate in harmony, the increased energy created through that alliance becomes available to every individual brain in the group. He even suggests the human mind as a form of energy.
So it's like synergy. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly. It implies this powerful synergistic effect. The collective consciousness generates something new, an emergent intelligence, a level of mental power beyond any individual member. Think about, like, a great jazz band improvising.
Okay.
When they're really locked in harmony, they create something amazing that no single player could have done alone. That shared intention creates something elevated. That's kind of like the third mind Hill is talking about.
Okay, I can see that. And the real-world applications are clear too, right? Like with Ford again.
Absolutely. Hill points out that Ford's most rapid strides became noticeable after he befriended Thomas Edison.
Under the brilliant mind.
And his most outstanding achievements began after he deliberately formed alliances with other geniuses like Harvey Firestone,
The tire guy.
John Burroughs, the naturalist, Luther Burbank, the plant wizard.
Wow, what a group.
Incredible group. And this illustrates the principle perfectly. Men take on the nature and the habits and the power of thought of those with whom they associate in a spirit of sympathy and harmony. Ford basically integrated their brain power, their innovative spirit, into his own world through the mastermind principle. He knew genius often lies in orchestrating the genius of others.
And we talked about Gandhi earlier. His miracle fits here too, right? On a massive scale.
Definitely. Gandhi achieved stupendous power by getting over 200 million people to coordinate with mind and body in a spirit of harmony for a definite purpose. Hill calls it a miracle because, let's be honest, getting even two people to cooperate harmoniously for long is tough.
Let alone 200 million.
Exactly. So stepping back, Hill's idea is that when people coordinate in harmony, they essentially place themselves in position to absorb power directly from the great universal storehouse of infinite intelligence.
Wow. So it's not just combining human knowledge.
It's potentially tapping into something bigger, a higher source of wisdom, insight, raw power that becomes accessible through that collective, harmonious mental effort.
It really makes you think. Who are the key people in your life that form your mastermind, even informally? Are you actively nurturing those relationships for shared growth, for that intellectual synergy, that collective power?
It's a critical question about being intentional with your community, your collaborations, if you're serious about big goals. Okay, now we get to a principle that's often misunderstood or maybe even uncomfortable for some people: sex transmutation.
Right. This one can sound a bit strange out of context.
It can, but Hill's definition is very specific and I think important to understand. He defines sex transmutation simply as the switching of the mind from thoughts of physical expression to thoughts of some other nature.
So redirecting energy.
Exactly. He identifies sex desire as the most powerful of human desires. And when this incredibly potent energy is harnessed and transmuted, redirected, he claims it generates keenness of imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and creative ability unknown to them at other times.
So it unlocks other powers when channeled.
That's the idea. It's not about repression. It's about conscious, strategic redirection of a fundamental human drive. Think of an artist pouring intense emotion into their work or an entrepreneur pouring passion into building their company. It's channeling that powerful innate force towards a focused, productive end.
And Hill believed there was historical evidence for this.
He did. He pointed to research over 2,000 years showing that men of greatest achievement are men with highly developed sex natures. And also that many achieved greatness when motivated by the influence of a woman. He saw a deep link between this potent energy and high levels of achievement.
Interesting connection.
And to underscore how fundamental this energy is, he points out that biologically, removing the sex glands castration in animals or humans removes the major source of action, takes away all the fight.
It shows the raw energy inherent in that drive.
Exactly, which, if it isn't channeled, just lies dormant or gets misdirected.
And he listed it as the strongest mind stimulus, right, out of 10.
Yep. The strongest influence for keying up the mind to high rates of vibration, fostering enthusiasm, creative imagination. It's the most primal, so when directed, potentially the most powerful.
So how does this manifest practically?
Yeah.
Like in sales, for instance?
Well, Hill did research with over 30,000 salespeople and came to what he called the astounding discovery that highly sexed men are the most efficient salesmen.
Really? Right.
His conclusion was that personal magnetism is nothing more or less than sex energy. Highly sexed people, he argued, always have a plentiful supply of magnetism, which they can then project.
Personal magnetism. Like charisma.
Kind of. And he said this energy, this magnetism, can be communicated subtly through a handshake, tone of voice, posture, even thought vibrations, how you present yourself. Ultimately, he links it to enthusiasm, saying enthusiasm is one of the most important requisites in salesmanship, and that enthusiasm comes from this transmuted energy. Now, Hill was very aware that this whole topic is often grossly misunderstood, slandered, and burlesqued.
Yeah, it's easy to misinterpret.
Definitely. He lamented that many people develop inferiority complexes, thinking a strong sexual nature is a curse, instead of seeing its potential as a powerful, creative, and motivational force if directed properly.
So crucially, this isn't about promoting promiscuity or being a libertine, as he puts it.
Absolutely not. Hill is very clear. Sex emotion is a virtue only when used intelligently and with discrimination. Overindulgence, he warns, is as destructive as narcotics or liquor. It requires conscious direction, balance, purpose.
Okay. That distinction is important.
And he adds that when sex desire is blended with love, that's when it truly lifts one to an altitude of a genius. Combining the energy with a higher emotion leads to the most potent creative output and fulfillment.
He also makes that point about motivation, doesn't he? That man's greatest motivating force is his desire to please woman, and that men often accumulate fortunes mainly to satisfy that desire.
He does make that rather traditional point, arguing that the right woman provides a modifying influence and power essential for a man's happiness and completeness. It reflects the perspective of his time, but highlights the powerful interplay he saw between relationships and motivation. So the core question here is, how are you consciously directing your most potent emotional energy? Are you actively transforming it into creative action, into purpose, into achievement? Or are you just letting it dissipate without clear direction? It's a deep question about self-awareness and intentional living. All right, next up, the subconscious mind. Hill calls it the connecting link.
The connecting link. Between what?
Between the conscious mind and potentially infinite intelligence. He defines it as a field of consciousness in which every impulse of thought that reaches the objective mind through any of the five senses is classified and recorded.
So it's like a giant filing cabinet for everything we experience.
Sort of, but it's more active than that. It receives and files sense impressions or thoughts regardless of their nature. It doesn't judge, it just archives all your mental input impartially.
Okay, so it stores everything. But can we direct it?
Yes, that's the key. You can voluntarily plant in your subconscious mind any plan, thought, or purpose which you desire to translate into its physical or monetary equivalent.
Involuntarily plant ideas.
But crucially, it responds most powerfully to dominating desires which have been mixed with emotional feelings such as faith. It needs that specific emotionally charged input to really act.
So desire and faith are key to programming it.
Exactly. And this mind, Hill says, it works tirelessly, day and night. Using methods we don't fully understand, it draws upon infinite intelligence to transmute those desires into physical reality, always using the most practical media available. It's like this perpetual, invisible engine working behind the scenes on the blueprints you give it.
But there's a big warning here too, right? About neglecting it.
Oh yeah, a huge danger. If you fail to consciously plant desires in your subconscious mind, it won't just sit idle. It will feed upon the thoughts which reach it as the result of your neglect. Meaning all those random thoughts of fear, poverty, doubt, negativity. If you don't actively program it with positive goals, it will default to processing and potentially manifesting whatever negative stuff drifts in.
So you have to be intentional about what you feed it.
Absolutely. You're either directing it or it's being directed by default, often by fear and negativity. This leads to a pretty profound thought Hill had about prayer. He actually predicted that eventually the science of prayer would be taught in schools.
The science of prayer?
Yeah. Where it would be reduced to a science, approached methodically, without any effort from or demands by the individual, and importantly, without fear. He argued strongly that there are no toll gates between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence. A direct line, basically.
Wow, that's a bold prediction. So the question for all of us is, what food are you deliberately feeding your subconscious mind? Are you consciously harnessing its power with positive, definite, faith-filled desires? Or are you letting it be swayed by default by the noise and fear around you?
It's about taking conscious control of that inner world. Okay, next, let's talk about the brain itself. Hill had a really interesting, almost futuristic view for his time.
How so?
Working with scientists like Alexander Graham Bell and Elmer R. Gates way back, he came to believe that every human brain is both a broadcasting and receiving station for the vibration of thought.
Broadcasting and receiving thoughts, like telepathy.
Sort of, yeah. Transmitted, he thought, through the medium of the ether. Now, obviously, modern neuroscience talks about brainwaves and connectivity differently, but the core idea he was getting at is fascinating. Our minds are interconnected. We influence and are influenced by the thoughts and energies around us. Like we have this built-in radio for ideas.
Okay, so we're not isolated thinkers.
Not according to Hill. And he believed the creative imagination is the receiving set of the brain which receives thoughts released by the brains of others.
Ah, so that's where those hunches come from.
That's what he suggested. He called creative imagination the agency of communication for those hunches or inspirations, those brilliant ideas that seem to appear out of nowhere but might actually be signals picked up from other minds or the collective consciousness. And the amazing thing, he says operating your mental broadcasting station is actually a comparatively simple procedure.
Simple? How?
It involves those principles we've already discussed. The subconscious mind, creative imagination, and autosuggestion. It's a sequence you can activate. And the process, as always with Hill,
Begins with desire.
begins with desire. You consciously engage these principles to intentionally send and receive those thought vibrations.
And Hill really hammers home the power of intangible forces, doesn't he?
He really does, reminding us that we're constantly influenced, controlled even, by things we can't see or touch. The ocean's tides, gravity, electricity, the intelligence in the soil that makes plants grow.
Right. The biggest forces are often invisible.
Exactly. Our physical senses only grasp a tiny fraction of reality. The greatest powers are often unseen. And to emphasize the sheer capacity of our brains, Hill quotes Dr. C. Judson Herrick's staggering calculation of the number of connections between brain cells.
What was the number?
1 followed by 15 million ciphers.
I can't even comprehend that number.
Right. Hill calls this intricate machinery stupendous, fully capable of translating the power of thought into its material equivalent. It highlights the incredible, almost unbelievable complexity and potential sitting right inside our heads.
And at the very peak of this mental architecture is what Hill calls the sixth sense.
Yes, the sixth sense. He describes this as that portion of the subconscious mind which has been referred to as the creative imagination. It's the highest faculty.
The bridge to infinite intelligence.
Exactly. The medium of contact between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence. A direct line to a higher, more intuitive way of knowing.
Yeah, what happens when you develop this?
Hill suggests that with the development of the sixth sense, a kind of guardian angel, basically, highly refined intuition, will open to you at all times the door to the temple of wisdom.
Wow, like inner guidance.
Yeah. This inner guidance system, he promises, will warn you of dangers in time to avoid them, and, just as importantly, notify you of opportunities in time to seize them. It's about cultivating this internal compass, this unerring sense of direction.
So if your brain is constantly broadcasting and receiving, what kind of thoughts are you intentionally putting out there, and what signals are you consciously trying to tune into for your own benefit, your own guidance?
It completely reframes how we think about our own mental activity and its reach, doesn't it? All right, now we need to confront the enemies within, the 6 basic fears.
The internal roadblocks.
Exactly. And Hill's starting point here is powerful. Fears are nothing more than states of mind. And because they're states of mind, they are subject to control and direction.
We can control them.
We can. But first, you have to know them. Know their name, its habits, and its place of abode. You have to identify the enemy. And he says most people suffer from some combination of these 6, often without realizing it.
Okay, let's name them. What's the first one?
1, the fear of poverty. Hill calls this the most destructive of the 6 basic fears.
The most destructive. Why?
He roots it in man's inherited tendency to prey upon his fellow man economically. And he says its presence brings immense suffering and humility.
He gives that really stark example, right, about wages back then.
Oh, yeah, shocking.
Yeah.
Miserable wages offered to busted men, like $8 a month, 11 cents an hour, and the brutal effrontery of asking about their religion for such a pittance. It just powerfully shows how the fear of poverty and poverty itself can strip away dignity, how money makes difference in self-respect.
Okay, that's fear of poverty. Number 2.
2, the fear of criticism. This one is everywhere, he says, a highly developed form in society, maybe from politics, fashion, tied to our tendency to justify his action by criticism of his fellow man's character.
We worry so much about what others think.
Totally. He gives funny examples like bald men wearing tight hats just out of fear of criticism, or manufacturers constantly changing styles just to prey on our fear of being judged as outdated.
Huh. Planned obsolescence fueled by fear.
Kind of. And he points out how parents inflict irreparable injury by criticizing kids, saying things like, "You'll land in the penitentiary before you're 20. That kind of criticism, he argues, plants fear or resentment, but it will not build love or affection.
Powerful point. Okay, number 3.
3, the fear of ill health. This one's closely linked to fears of old age and death. And sadly, he says, it's perpetuated by unethical people engaged in the business of selling health.
Like preying on people's health anxieties.
Exactly. He even estimated that maybe 75% of people visiting doctors were actually suffering from imaginary illness, hypochondria. Shows the mind's power again.
And he talks about how fear can cause illness.
Yes. That experiment where 3 friends subtly suggest someone looks sick and the person starts feeling sick. And that other story, the man hospitalized for months after a love disappointment.
Cured by a nurse pretending to love him.
Yeah, a hoax, but it worked,
Yeah.
proving the immense power of mental attitude, positive emotion over physical health.
Mind over matter.
Okay,
Number 4.
4, the fear of loss of love. Hill calls this the most painful of all the 6 basic fears. Rooted, he suggests, in man's polygamous habit and the vulnerability of connection.
The most painful. Wow, how does it show up?
Leads to intense jealousy without any reasonable evidence, accusing partners of infidelity, constant fault-finding, even desperate acts like gambling to provide money for loved ones with the belief that love can be bought.
Trying to buy security in love.
Tragically misguided, yeah. He notes women might be more susceptible due to historical experiences with men's perceived polygamous by nature tendencies.
Okay. Fear number 5.
5. The fear of old age. This one stems from a few places. Fear of poverty in old age, false and cruel teachings about the afterlife, and the fear of losing physical attractiveness or sexual appeal.
A lot packed into that one.
Yeah. Symptoms include the tendency to slow down and develop an inferiority complex around the age of 40, falsely thinking you're slipping.
When really, that should be your prime.
Exactly. Hill strongly believes that 40 to 60 are man's most useful years mentally and spiritually. So this fear is often a self-fulfilling prophecy, not reality.
Good point. And the last one, number 6.
6. The fear of death, often the cruelest of all, he says. Tied to religious dogma, lack of certainty about what comes next.
The great unknown.
Precisely. In other cases, it links back to fear of ill health, fear of poverty, leaving loved ones behind, or deep disappointment in life or love.
So they're all interconnected.
Very much so.
And all these fears feed into worry.
Yes, worry. Hill defines it as a state of mind based upon fear, caused by indecision. It's paralyzing. It paralyzes one's reasoning faculty, destroys self-confidence and initiative, renders you powerless.
Indecision breeds worry, which breeds fear. A vicious cycle.
Exactly. Which leads to his point about susceptibility to negative influences. He calls this the most common weakness of all human beings.
We're easily swayed.
He gives a stark warning. Recognize that you are, by nature, lazy, indifferent, and susceptible to all suggestions which harmonize with your weaknesses. Ouch.
Double ouch. So what's the antidote?
Be vigilant. Consciously close your mind to negative people, negative input. Actively seek out and surround yourself with positive, uplifting company and influences. Choose your inputs carefully. So the challenge to you, the listener, is which of these fears, maybe subtly, maybe unconsciously, influences your decisions, your actions? And how can simply recognizing them, naming them, be that first crucial step towards freedom from their control?
It's all about that self-awareness again, which leads perfectly into the next section. Self-analysis for success, that ancient wisdom. Man, know thyself.
Exactly. Hill stresses this. Just like a good merchant knows their inventory inside out, you must know your own weaknesses so you can correct them, and know your strength so you can leverage it. And that requires accurate analysis, honest self-assessment.
And he provides tools for this, right? Like that list of failure causes.
Yes, the 30 major causes of failure. We won't go through all 30, but some key ones really stand out. Lack of a well-defined purpose in life. Lack of ambition to aim above mediocrity. Insufficient education, which he always says is easily overcome. Lack of self-discipline, that old enemy procrastination. Lack of persistence, having a negative personality, fear of criticism. And the difference between just wishing instead of willing. It's a powerful checklist for personal accountability.
So you can see where you might be tripping yourself up.
Precisely. And to really dig deep, he emphasizes doing an annual self-analysis, like a business taking yearly inventory.
Yeah.
He provides 28 self-analysis questions to guide this process, really probing questions. He encourages answering them aloud to yourself for greater honesty. And if you're unsure,
ask someone else.
Yeah. Seek the counsel of those who know you well, who have no motive in flattering you. Get that brutally honest feedback from someone trustworthy. And all this self-analysis leads back to what Hill considers the most significant, most inspiring fact of all.
What that?
You have absolute control over but one thing, and that is your thoughts.
Only our thoughts.
That's it. But that's everything. He says, if you fail to control your own mind, you may be sure you will control nothing else. This power, this sole area of absolute control, is your ultimate tool for shaping your destiny.
It's empowering, but also
a
huge responsibility.
Immense. Which makes it sad that, as Hill observes, building alibis with which to explain away failure is a national pastime.
Making excuses. We all do it.
We do. But he calls it fatal to success. Why? Because an alibi is the child of his own imagination, and we fiercely defend our own creations, even if they're just ways of avoiding responsibility. So the big question is, are you willing to face yourself, truthfully, through that rigorous, unflinching self-analysis, because ultimately your thoughts are your kingdom. Are you ruling it wisely, with purpose? Or are you letting fears and alibis run the show?
Deep stuff. Powerful challenge. Okay, finally, Hill touches on the bigger picture: capitalism, opportunity, and the law of economics, particularly in the context of America at his time.
Right. He describes America, then, as a land of opportunity and plenty, offering unique freedom of thought indeed. An ideal environment, he felt, for applying his principles.
And he uses that breakfast example to illustrate the economic advantages, right?
Yeah, that simple breakfast in Times Square. Grapefruit juice from Florida, tea from China, bananas from South America, all costing just 20 cents for 2 people back then.
Okay.
He presents it as proof of abundant resources and incredibly efficient distribution, all made possible by the underlying capitalist system.
And he clarifies the role of capital itself. It's not just money.
Exactly. He says capital consists not alone of money, but more particularly of highly organized, intelligent groups of men who plan ways and means of using money efficiently for the good of the public and profitably to themselves.
So, organized intelligence.
Yes. These groups, scientists, educators, inventors, experts, they are the brains of civilization, he says. Capital, for Hill, is organized brainpower directing resources, which leads him to put it back against negative views of capital. He calls out politicians and demagogues who deliberately becloud the issues, referring to organized capital as if it were something poisonous.
Right. He defends it.
Strongly. He argues that without organized capital, the railroads, ships, factories, the millions of trained workers, that simple 20-cent breakfast would be impossible at any price. He stresses its essential role in modern life and prosperity, arguing against demonizing it.
And this all ties into a fundamental rule: the law of economics.
Yes, an immutable law, in his view. No system has ever been created by which men can legally acquire riches through mere force without giving in return an equivalent value. Period.
You can't get something for nothing.
Exactly. Getting without giving fundamentally violates nature's law of economics. It's as unbreakable as gravity, he suggests. So, regarding freedom and responsibility, Hill saw America as providing the opportunity to render useful service and to collect riches in proportion to the value of the service. Opportunity is there.
That catch.
Yeah. It does not and cannot promise something for nothing. If you violate that principle of giving equivalent value, he warns, there are severe consequences. For individuals, for society. He points to the Great Depression, 1929-1935, as a grim example of what happens when that economic law is disregarded on a mass scale.
So as we wrap up, a final check-in for you, the listener. As you think about your own goals for wealth and success, are your expectations truly aligned with that fundamental law of economics? The idea that giving value must always come before receiving.
It's a critical reality check, especially in today's world. Are you focused on contributing value first? So as you reflect on this whole deep dive into Think and Grow Rich, maybe the biggest takeaway is that the path to success, it isn't just about what you do. It's so profoundly about how you think and what you genuinely believe.
Right. The inner game.
Totally. So the challenge we leave you with is this. What one definite purpose will you commit to with that unshakable, burning desire? And metaphorically speaking, what ships are you really prepared to burn to absolutely ensure its success?
That's the commitment level Hill talks about, the timeless wisdom he shared, pulled from the lives of the world's most successful people. It really does offer this powerful, enduring blueprint for anyone seeking to master their own economic destiny, achieve their biggest ambitions.
Absolutely.
This deep dive, of course, has just scratched the surface. There's so much more in the book itself, but hopefully it sparked that burning desire in you to dig even deeper, to explore these principles and really apply them in your own life.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope you got a lot out of our conversation today.
Well, that's about all the time we have for this deep dive here at the BookMind channel. Thank you so much for joining us. And hey, if you found this conversation insightful, if it sparked some ideas,
Please do us a favor.
yeah, please like this, share it with someone who might benefit, and definitely subscribe to our channel, The BookMind. It really helps us keep these conversations going.
Thanks, everyone.